Hello students, Chemsteroids team welcomes you for the NEET Mock 85 paper released by the National Test Abias. Let's go into the one by one, each question, detailed solutions. Let's go into the first question. The first question says a chemical kinetic questions. There are two step mechanism is given. So slowest step is always the rate determining step. So from slowest step we can write here n rate as 2 and then number of moles of hydrogen as 1. So 2 and then 1 we can write. And since they have given in the question option A and option B seems to be exactly not matching with our rate. So we can say option A and option B is not present. Then option C says on doubling the concentration of hydrogen, keeping the concentration of NO constant, the rate will become double. So we can also observe the same thing over here. When I try to keep the NO concentration constant, so constant into constant clubbed into another constant called K prime. So then it is appearing to the 2 times that of the initial rate. So therefore it seems exactly matching. And then here the initial concentration of H2 and NO is C naught. When we take initial concentration here as C naught and C naught, and after time t the concentration of N2 is X. If X is reacted here 2X would have been undergone. Okay, so then here X if it is the case, then we may say it is end up with the wrong one. Okay, so therefore this is also not appears to be a correct one. Coming to the second question, azimuthal quantum number and magnetic quantum number relation is asked for. So we know the relation is m equal to 2l plus 1. So substituting l equal to m minus 1 by 2. So seems to be option A. And in third one, IUPAC name, very easiest one. If all the 3 carbons are possessing a nitrile or carbonitrile, so we may say which is not included in the main chain carbon numbering, so therefore it is called as a hydrocarbon derivatives. So propane 1 2 3 tricarbonitrile is the correct IUPAC name of it. And coming to the fourth one, and the simplest formula is asked for, so you can divide by their atomic weight. So 50 by 10, 50 by 20 leads to 2:1. So therefore X2, Y1, that is found in option B. And fifth question, carbonate salt soluble due to high entropy change. Which of the following carbonate salt? So generally ammonium salts are showing a very great solubility. That is because it has possessing a greater entropy. So the entropy is going to be so positive for the ammonium salts. So the solution enthalpy is positive, but what it makes is it forms solubility. It shows solubility. Why it shows solubility here is that is because of more entropy. So though it is delta H solution is positive, but the reaction still becomes spontaneous when the dissolution is spontaneous. Why? Because the delta G becomes more negative as the delta S turns into more positive. So therefore option C, all ammonium salts must have been taken as the option. And question number 6, which is not formed when a mixture of N-butyl bromide and then ethyl bromide is treated with sodium. So we know that sodium, whenever it is reacted with alkyl halide, it's a Woods reaction, and the mechanism that it follows, its free radical mechanism. The free radical generated from N-butyl bromide is N-butyl radical and then ethyl radical. So either with themselves it can combine. So when A and A or B and B combines, it forms octane and then butane, or these two can combine, forms hexane. So totally these are the 3 products that can be formed. So the another product that is not formed in the product is ethane. So ethane cannot be formed in this reaction. And here for your understanding, that free radical combination is shown so that it forms A plus B, AA, AB, all 3 possible combination is given here. Octane, butane, hexane formation. And graph of heat capacity at constant volume is given. Heat capacity at constant volume is called as CV. So CV equal to, we know it is 3 by 2 R or FR we can say. So the 3 by 2 R appears to be only over here. So we can immediately guess that it is B. Something this looks like tough kind by looking at the graph, but actually it is not so. So therefore it is a temperature independent. Moreover, there will not be any changes. Okay, horizontal line in the graph will be intercept equal to 3 by 2 R. So therefore it should be a flat. So automatically we can say B as the answer. And 8th one, rate determining step in electrophilic aromatic substitution. Let's say benzene reacts with electrophile. The very first step is a slow step where the formation of rhenium cation is going to happen. Whereas the second step is a fast step, so therefore that must be the answer. The rate determining in electrophilic aromatic substitution seems to be formation of intermediate rhenium cation, because it is usually very slow process. That is a very first step. Okay, this is a second step. The second step is a fast step. And question number 9, dipole moment of H2O2 is more than H2O, but still H2O2 is not much act as a very good solvent. Only we may use only water as a solvent. That is because hydrogen peroxides are thermally unstable. We are aware already, even a trace quantity of impurities itself is enough to cause the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. So that it is to be prevented. Okay, so it should be prevented. So there are some practical difficulties when you use hydrogen peroxide as a solvent, since in order to stop the decomposition we may have to add inhibitors. Okay, so therefore generally the water is preferred than H2O2, though the dipole moment or polarity is very high, so the H2O2 is not much preferred. So it seems option D, because it dissociates readily and it in turn acts as an oxidizing agent as it releases a nascent oxygen or oxygen. Then question number 10, an alloy of copper, silver, gold, all the three is present and it forms a formula. So they are asked for what is the alloy formula. So copper is at CCP lattice. Since copper forms CCP lattice, there are 4 atoms in CCP. Of that, 2n tetrahedral and n octahedral voids. So 4 octahedral, 8 tetrahedral voids. And they have also given silver atoms are present at edges. Okay, so edge center. So edge center is the place where the octahedral voids is generally found in CCP lattice. So there are 12 edges, so 12 into 1 by 4, totally 3 atoms. And coming to the gold is occupying in the body center, so one body center per unit cell. So therefore that there it is 1 into 1 by 1, there will be 1 atom. And body center is also, we may say it is an octahedral voids. Therefore the anion or like the lattice that is formed is copper, and in that voids, when copper lattice are getting formed or when the copper atoms are arranged in a 3-dimensional space, the empty voids or the interstitial sides are occupied by silver and then gold. Okay, this is we understood already even in D and F block elements that interstitial compounds are possible or alloy formation is possible only if the radii are within 15% to each other. So why particularly copper allows Ag and Au is their radius is not of much variations within the ranges, within 15% to each other. So therefore it forms alloys readily. Then question number 11, zeolite hydrated sodium aluminum silicate is treated with a hard water. The sodium ions are going to definitely exchange with calcium and then magnesium 2+ ions. Okay, it is not with the H+ ions. So option B, and it should be C, not D. So therefore we may say here it is option B and C, calcium and then magnesium 2+ ion. Or we may say B and D. If we say, again what it means is, again it is calcium only is meant. Okay, then question number 12, hydrides of group 14 elements, they are asking for the thermal stability. So we know the thermal stability is directly proportional to the EH bond strength. So the EH bond strength, carbon hydrogen more or less close in size but still larger in size, so therefore easily it can be cleaved. So thermally less stable, so with a very less energy we can easily cleave the tin and hydrogen bond. So therefore we may say tin H bond is having a very low bond dissociation energy, or definitely it has less thermal stability. So the option that it exactly matches is with C, not with B. Okay, so the option that it exactly matches is 1, 2, 3, 4. So option C. And coming to question number 13, yeah, very important. And over here the N2O4 decomposition is given, percentage dissociation is also given. They are asking for the observed vapor density order. So here n equals to 2. What is n here is number of moles dissociated or number of products formed for 1 mole of the reactant. So here 1 mole of the reactant is producing 2 moles, that is what is n. So n equals to 2. So n here defines as 1 mole of the reactant is going to produce how much mole of the product. That is what we call it as n. In case let's say if 3 reactant is producing me let's say 2 products and what will be the N value if you ask me? So I will suggest 3 moles are producing 2, then 1 mole will produce 2 by 3. So in that case, I'll say N value as 2 by 3. Okay, so we know the degree of dissociation and observed density and calculated vapor density in what way related. This is the formula. So alpha equal to D minus D by N minus 1 into D. So substituting N as 2, 2 minus 1, 1. So the equation turns into alpha capital D minus small d by lowercase d. So then we may say vapor density before dissociation is 46. How we can say that is 2 into vapor density is molecular mass. So initially before dissociation only N2O4 will be present. So the vapor density at the initial stages are only due to N2O4. So therefore 2 into vapor density equal to molecular mass. So molecular mass of it is 92. So vapor density equal to molecular mass by 2. So 92 by 2, that is going to be 46. That is the initial vapor density, that is before N2O4 is getting dissociated. After getting dissociated, the reactions tends to reach equilibrium. Then at equilibrium, some amount of N2O4 which is left undissociated and some amount of NO2 both will be existing together. So that will be vapor density after dissociation, we can say it as, and vapor density of the mixture. This mixture is due to the vapor density of the mixture is due to N2O4 as well as NO2. So therefore we may have to consider now what is the vapor density after dissociation. So getting a relationship between this, D equal to capital D by 1 plus alpha. So alpha is given, percentage alpha is given, so 25%, which can be written as 0.25. So 1 plus alpha 0.25, so 1.25, 1.75, 1.50, 2, something like that we can say. So then we may say the observed vapor density or vapor density of the mixture for the numerator, almost all the values are same. So over here 46, 46, 46, 46. So numerator is same. So of course it depends on the denominator. If the denominator is high, and vapor density of the mixture will be very low. So here where you can find the vapor density of the mixture is 2, the denominator is very high, so automatically D 100% will be of very low value. So automatically D25 will be of very high value. So the option that is exactly matches with that one is A. Next question, and which of the following element react with HNO3 to form MO2? We know from our theory from P block elements, P4 when it is reacting with nitric acid, it forms H3PO4, it oxidizes. Nitric acid here acts as an oxidizing agent. Magnesium also gets oxidized into their corresponding nitrate. Even zinc, depending upon the conditions, whether cold dilute or hot con, it gets changes into N2O or NO2. But tin is the only one which reduces or which reacts with HNO3, gets oxidizes as cassiterite, SnO2. So therefore that is the only one which forms MO2. So therefore option D. Coming to the next, H3PO4 dissociation is given. First dissociation constant pK1 and second dissociation constant pK2 value is given. So it is basically an amphiphotic acid, okay, which means that it can able to accept H+. When it accepts H+, it turns into H3PO4. It can also donate H+. When it donates H+, it becomes HPO4 2-. So pH equal to pK1 plus pK2 by 2 we can say. So the sum of this, take an average, so the average is going to be 4.675. so that is observed in option B. And the 16th question, sulfonation of phenol with concentrated sulfuric acid at 228 to 293 Kelvin, and that is resulting in the orthophenol sulfonic acid. If the temperature is slightly higher, 373, that is going to result in paraphenol sulfonic acid. Okay. And 17th question, for which of the following DN configuration octahedral compounds cannot exist in both high spin and then low spin form? For D3 and then D8, if you try to write the electronic configurations, both will result in the same electronic configuration. So therefore it will have same CFSE where it cannot be defined. So there is no low spin high spin concept in the case of D3 and then D8 configuration. So therefore that is found in option C, 1 and 4, D3 and then D8. Whereas D5 and D6 we can write low spin and then high spin complexes for the octahedral configuration. It will have a different electronic configuration. Question number 18, and Cannizzaro reaction is asked for. which of the following products will be the formed one for the given reactant. So it is an internal Cannizzaro. Within the mixture there will be an compound getting oxidized as well as getting reduced. So here generally you'll have to see more reactive aldehyde, more reactive compounds or more reactive functional group gets converted into acid. So aldehyde ketone, when you compare aldehyde, due to less steric hindrance, we will say it is more reactive towards the attack. So therefore aldehydes generally gets converted into carboxylic acids or acidic part, and CO part is going to get reduced into alcoholic part. So this is the part which gets reduced. Ketone is the part getting reduced into CHOH, whereas CHO transforms into COO. That is found in exactly B. pH, CHOH, COO minus. So 18, option B. And 19 from thermodynamics, work done calculation related, PV diagram is given. Generally this type of questions you can commonly observe in physics, but generally it is also being asked for chemistry also. So try to apply what you learnt in physics, that you try to apply here. So the PV diagram is given. Work done is area bounded by the circle. So area of the circle is known to us that it is pi r square from your mathematics. So we can say the radius of it is, we can say P2 minus P1 by 2 and as well as V2 by V1 by 2. So therefore we may say C option seems to be the best option of it. Okay. And question number 20, they're telling you that there should not be no change in the volume. They're asking you to assume it so. And you need to get a pH of 12 when you electrolyze sodium chloride. So electrolysis of sodium chloride gives Na plus and Cl minus. Apart from that, H plus and OH minus also will be there. At cathode, H plus migrates predominantly or preferentially. So H2 will be liberated. H2 gas will be liberated at cathode and chlorine gas will be liberated at anode. So finally Na plus and OH minus will be left out. So it forms NaOH. The solution is going to be finally basic in nature. So the pH is going to be at the end of the electrolysis, the pH of the solution is going to be increasing. So now the point is they're asking you to get the pH of 12, which means the concentration of OH minus will be 10 power minus 2 at 25 degrees Celsius, because we know the ionic product of water Kw equal to 10 power minus 14. So if this is 10 power minus 12, this is going to be 10 power minus 2. So let me find out what is the number of moles of NaOH present in the given data. So for 10 power minus 2 molarity is what is the concentrations I got. So that I'm substituting here, and volume is 50 ml is given. So 50 divided by, since volume is in milliliter, I'm converting into liter. This is 1000 milliliter per liter. So we may say this is 1000 milliliter present per liter. So here it is 50 milliliter. So milliliter gets cancelled, and 10 power minus 2 moles per liter. So this liter and this liter also gets cancelled. Finally you will get in terms of moles. In order to moles to mass, we can multiply by 40, because sodium hydroxide 40 is the molecular weight. So therefore 5 into 10 power minus 4 into 40 is going to give you the needed answer. And apply the Faraday's law, W equal to ZIT, and Z is electrochemical equivalent. We can write it as E by 96500. So therefore substituting all those data, we will get time as 96.5 seconds, which means when I do electrolysis of 50 ml of 0.1 molar sodium chloride using a current of 0.5 ampere, I have to pass it for 96.5 seconds to get the solution pH as 12. If at all I wanted to get the pH of 14 or let's say pH of 11, what must be the time that I should pass? Okay, think in that aspect and try to get. I think so time to try on your own. If in case I need pH equal to 10 for the same question, what is the time required? So that you try to get it. Okay, we know the solution is finally becoming basic. So from sodium chloride is basically pH is 7, which is a neutral salt. So from pH 7, I wanted to take it into the pH 10. So then what must be the current that I should be passed? Okay, the current given is 0.5 ampere. How much time I should pass to get it pH 10 for the same question? I think so you can try on your own. And then solids carbon dioxide, yes, you are learning it from your theory. Solid state, it just belongs to a molecular crystal, well-known example, straightforward. And RLVP is given, relative lowering of vapor pressure. Data is 7.13 to 10 power minus 3. Molecular mass of the substance is also asked for. and they have given the substance, that's non-volatile solute weight is given and solvent mass is given. So we are substituting and we are getting it as 180 gram per mole. It's a direct formula of it. So 180 gram per mole you got as the answer. And screening effect is always directly proportional to the penetration effect. So always S electron being spherically symmetrical, it spends more time close to the nucleus. So therefore we will say the electrons in the S subshell penetrates very higher than PDF electrons. So therefore SPDF seems to be the correct answer. 23 option A. And 24, formation of metallic copper from the sulfide ore from the metallurgy chapter. So this is like reductions, like self reductions is going to happen. Okay, so copper sulfide undergoes generally self reduction themselves, like one of the copper sulfide itself is going to act as a reducing agent for the copper oxide to copper conversions. So therefore 24 is option B. 25, the volume strength is given, normality is asked for. So the volume strength into normality is related this way. In case if they ask for the molarity, we may say volume strength of H2O2 equal to 11.2 into molarity. So this is the formula which you can easily get it done. So 5.6 normality. So normality equal to volume strength by 5.6. Volume strength is given 30. So 30 by 5.6. That turns out to be 5.3571. Close to it, or approximate answer that is matching here is 5.36. Option D. And 26, which of the following is most acidic here? So we know carboxylic acids, due to the equivalent resonating structures, will be more acidic than alcohols or phenols. So therefore option A and option B is ruled out, as it is one is phenol, the other one is cyclohexanol. So another one is only option C or option D, because both are got a carboxylic acids. So either one of these two must be the answer. But NO2 is present in option D, which exhibits minus I effect on the carbon attached with the COOH. This carbon doesn't have any minus or effect. So therefore we can say only it can exhibit minus I effect. So therefore this should be somewhat better option than C. So if at all you ask me the order, so D, C, among D and C, I will have to go for D as the option. So 26, D is the answer. The next is C, the next is B, then next is A. We know phenol is more resonance stable, so therefore option D is more acidic, then C is the acidic, next B, and then next A. This should be the order. Coming to the 27, enthalpy entropy values is given. When enthalpy is negative, we know it is a favorable condition. Most of the spontaneous reactions are exothermic in nature, and entropy, randomness, has to increase for the favorable condition. But here the randomness is decreasing, so unfavorable condition. So the reaction can become spontaneous, or the delta G can become spontaneous only at low temperature. So we need to find out the highest temperature up to which the reaction is feasible. So that can be identified using the delta G equal to 0 at equilibrium concept. Okay, so therefore this is the concept what we use, delta G equal to 0 at equilibrium. So find out the temperature. The temperature is observed to be 250 Kelvin. So above this temperature it will be non-spontaneous. Below or exactly at that temperature the reaction will start to show its feasibility. Next, 28. The species which undergo disproportionation in alkaline medium, like sodium hydroxide, caustic soda can be considered as an alkaline medium. So it forms sodium chloride and then sodium hypochlorite and then sodium chlorate. So therefore there is a change in the oxidation state. You can find the oxidation state changes from 0 to -1 and then +5. One is getting increased and the other one is getting decreased from +5 to -1. And this is the case with hot and cold. Even in NEET 84 yesterday paper, what we observed, even in that also we saw this type of question is asked for. So cold and dilute is going to result in -1 and then +1. So this is a -1 and then +1 configurations. And NO2 in the presence of alkaline medium or in the presence of caustic soda, so we can say it converts into +3 and then +5. The nitrogen oxidation state is, in the case of sodium nitrite, +3, sodium nitrate, it is +5. So 3 and then 5. So therefore we may say the best option for this as D, both A and C. And 29, two half cells are combined to form a third cell. So then what is the relations? Okay, remember E naught is not additive in nature because it is an intensive property, whereas delta G naught is an extensive property, so you can add it. Okay, definitely it is an additive property being extensive, so all manipulations must be done in terms of delta G naught. It must not be done with the help of E naught. If you do in terms of E naught, I will term it as electrochemical crime. Okay, so make sure do not do any electrochemical crime when next time this type of question turns up. Okay, so we can say being this is additive in nature, delta G naught, so delta G naught 3 equal to delta G naught 1 plus delta G naught 2. So then substituting delta G equal to minus NFE formula, we arrive at this particular one. So where option C is found. Next, question number 30, most soluble in water is asked for. So you have been provided with 1 minute of time in the examination. So how to determine it very faster is just neglect these values. That's my simple suggestion to you. Take this exponent, okay, and here these two are somewhat larger. Anyways, try to take it. So here KSP equal to S square. So approximately S is 10 power minus 8 by neglecting 7 because it's a very small number. So same way here 10 power minus 38. Ferric hydroxide, when it is dissociating into this way, it is going to dissociate into Fe3 plus and then 3OH minus. So S and then 3S. So possibly here we may get S 3S power 3, and that is also going to be 27 power S power 4. So which means 20 power minus 38 by 4, or roughly even if you 40, like if you take 10 power minus 9 around, you are going to get. Same way here also 10 power minus 40 means here it is going to be 10 power minus 40 by 4, 10 power minus 10. So all this are in the ranges of magnitude of 8.8 to 9. Over here also 10 power 9 or 10 power 40 by 4, 10 power 10. 10 power minus 9 to 10 power minus 10 ranges. Okay. So therefore what we can suggest on this is it is not having a very high positive magnitude. But for the option D, you will find S power 4, roughly let me take 10 power minus 18. For 10 power minus 18, I am getting 10 power minus 4.5, which is almost a higher positive exponent or towards positive value. So I must consider that as the highest solubility. So therefore the answer must be Ag3PO4. Okay, we may say it is minus 4.5. This is having a higher magnitude solubility wise. 31. And select the correct statement is asked for. NH3 with the BF3. With this type of reactions, when NH3 is having a lone pair of electrons and boron trifluoride, boron generally has a vacant orbital. This tends to donate the electrons towards themselves. So therefore, boron can act as an electron pair acceptor, whereas ammonia is acting as an electron pair donor. So this is a Lewis base and this is a Lewis acid. So therefore, option A appears to be correct. Okay, so ammonia is a Lewis base and BF3 is a Lewis acid. So the hybridization after accepting from BF3 and then one is from nitrogen. So there is a 4 sigma bonds around it. So therefore when there is a 4 sigma bonds, we may say it is an sp3 hybridization. So this is also seems to be correct, but the shape of that will become tetrahedral now. It will no more trigonal planar. So therefore it is wrong. So and both A and B is also correct. So therefore I feel the 31 answer is both A and B only is the correct statement. Okay, so C is the wrong statement. And 32, which of the following can form Zwitter ion? We know amino acids specifically forms Zwitter ion, forming cations as well as anions in the same compound. So therefore option C can find to be an alpha amino acids, because COOH, this carbon is an alpha carbon. In alpha carbon here amino group is there. So automatically this is going to exist in the form of Zwitter ion, like COO minus and then NH3 plus. Okay, over here H and over here CH3 will be formed. So therefore it forms Zwitter ion readily. So therefore we can say option C. And 33, they're asking for which of the following mixture leads to the negatively charged colloid. Okay, so negatively charged colloid is possible only when Ki or excess iodide is present. Okay, so remember this is a very simple one. Always, let's say in a tube, let's say if there is an excess Ki, here the Ki must be excess. To the excess Ki, when you add a silver nitrate and it forms a silver iodide, and that silver iodide in turn tends to absorb iodide from the species. That is what is common. So therefore this Ki will be getting absorbed. So this is what we call it as a fixed layer, okay, the first layer. So for that iodide must be higher in quantity. So find out which case has got highest in millimoles. Okay, so we may say here AgNO3 is 5 mole equal. So therefore it forms in only 5 moles of AgI. So iodide is not in excess, whereas in option B you will find it is in excess. 5 millimoles is excess. 5 millimole reacts with 5 millimole, remaining 5 millimole will be excess. So therefore this is seems to be the answer. And here in case if they ask for AgI, Ag plus positively charged salt, in that case we'll have to select option C, because here the AgNO3 is excess, 5 millimoles. Here also D is exactly equal. So A and D will not have any absorption, and B will result in negatively charged colloid, C will result in negatively charged colloid. And there is a 34th question asking for rate of the reactions. You'll have to express in terms of dP by dt instead of dC by dt or dN by dt. So what is the equation? So we know ideal gas equation, PV equal to nRT. So P equal to N by V RT. So number of moles by volume is said to be a concentration or molar concentration C. So P equal to CRT. So then taking 1 by RT, so differentiating it with respect to time. So dP by dt equal to 1 by V, dN by dt equal to dC by dt. It appears to be like a B is correct, but actually speaking that is wrong, because when you take a 1 by RT, so I don't find the B is correct. Okay, so therefore you'll have to be a bit cautious when you go for a fast way of calculations. Do not take immediate decisions. B maybe sometimes you may think it is a correct, but actually it is not so, because dN by dt equal to not 1 by RT of dP by dt. Okay, so B and C doesn't seems like an answer, so none of this also is wrong. So 34 we have got already like the correct relationship. Okay, dC by dt. So sorry, so 34 must be dC by dt equal to 1 by V dN. So which we can say this is correct. So I'm really sorry. So therefore we can say this is option B. Okay, option A is also not matching. It appears like option A, but it is not so exactly. Okay, option B seems to be the correct answer. Next, 35. Which of the following does not form an ether? Okay, so which of the following does not form an ether in this case? Alkoxides are, we know it is very strong bases. It eliminates generally proton. So therefore the elimination in that case is going to compete over the substitution. This happens generally in the case of Williamson ether synthesis. And C, option C is a Williamson ether synthesis, and where it results in the alkene. Whereas option A, first it reacts with aqueous NaOH, it liberates hydrogen, so that alkoxides C6H5, it should be here C6H5. So C6H5OH with RBr, it has to convert into first C6H5ONa, and this Na and Br will be removed as a product, so that C6H5OR. So it results in the ether formation. And oxymercuration, demercuration, the second one, hydration type of reactions, but here instead of water the alcohol is present, so alkoxide and H plus, and it follows a Markovnikov way of addition. So the addition is Markovnikov addition. So when you try to add in a Markovnikov way, and you are going to result in this as the product. So OR is present, so it is an ether group. So even 413 Kelvin in option D, it results in intermolecular dehydration. So therefore it is also results in ether. Whereas at 443 Kelvin, ethene will be formed as a product. That is an intramolecular dehydration reaction. And 36, tin with HCl. Tin with HCl, when nitrobenzene is reacted, we may know it is an aniline. Even Fe and HCl also does the same job, and we may generally say FeHCl is most preferred than tin HCl. So therefore we may say SnHCl or FeHCl if it is present, that forms aniline. So P is going to be 4. So the option that I have over here is only A and B. So the only thing that I have to check next is my R and S, because both the cases Q is 3. So I came to know that zinc in the presence of ammonium chloride, it is result in phenyl hydroxylamine. Even here also it is given phenyl hydroxylamine. Even you can find here, it's a very famous test, Millikan-Barker test. For test for nitro group, this is Millikan-Barker test. It's a test for nitro group. So phenyl hydroxylamine, in turn upon oxidizing, again it is acting as an oxidizing agent, sodium chromaterol. So there will be a removal of hydrogen, it gets converted into nitrosobenzene. So the option that is exactly matching here is finally RS1, because with methanolic sodium methoxide with 2 moles of 1, here it is again reacts with 2 moles of nitrobenzene, and it results in 1 mole is converting into nitrosobenzene, the another mole is converting into phenyl hydroxylamine. Immediately there will be a formation of azoxybenzene. Okay, so the option that is exactly matching is A. And 37, IUPAC name of the Prussian blue is ASFA. So the Prussian blue exactly looks like this type of color. So exactly on the one top what you find in the one. So iron 3 hexacyanoferrate is what we call it as a Prussian blue. So it is option C. Even you can find in your NCRT, it is asked to write the structure. Okay, the structure of this is iron 3 hexacyanoferrate is this one. You must use crisscross formula to find the exact structure of it. Next, 38. They have given some data. Benzaldehyde, which is an aromatic aldehyde, heated with anhydride of an aliphatic acid containing 2 alpha hydrogen, and then in the presence of its sodium salt, and condensation takes place to form unsaturated carboxylic acids. This is a case for Perkin reactions. So remember, you must take aromatic aldehyde. Here the aromatic aldehyde taken is benzaldehyde and some aliphatic acid anhydride, and here it is an acetic anhydride and its corresponding sodium salts. So acetic acid anhydride, so sodium acetate, and these two when it forms, and the acetic anhydride must definitely contain 2 alpha hydrogen. So this is the 2 alpha hydrogen. So there will be removal of H2O. So this H2O will be removed and try to connect it. C6H5 CH double bond CH CO O CO CH3. So therefore it results in this type of condensation product again, and on heating it produces cinnamic acid by showing a removal of or addition of water here. So alpha beta unsaturated acid is formed. It's a condition for Perkin 1, so I can say 38A. 39, in the reaction H3PO4 with calcium hydroxide. So acid, it's a weak acid. Weak acid is reacting with a strong base, and you can find the 2OH minus here is replaced by 2 water molecules, or two neutralization is occurred. So therefore, though basicity is 3, there are 3 replaceable OH are present, but only 2 of it is utilized. So 1 is still left out. So therefore, the neutralization factor is only 2, because only 2 hydrogens are neutralized. So equivalent weight for this reaction is, therefore we may say n factor as 2. We should not take the n factor as 3. Okay, this is a common mistake where you will generally do. Okay, so only 2 OH only is just neutralized. Therefore 2H plus only is released by the H3PO4. Still it has got 1 H plus in the compound, the salt form. The salt form is called as acidic salt. So equivalent weight is going to be 49. So option A. And question number 40. 2 electrons revolving around a nucleus at a distance of r and 4r. So the ratio of their time period is asked for. So the time period is directly proportional to n cube by z square from this velocity by the circumference by velocity expressions we can get. But since it is asked with the radius at a distance r, so we'll try to take the distance relations. Okay, so we may say t square, I'm just taking a square of it, so n power 6 by z power 4, that I can write it as rn power 3 by z. So which means t square is directly proportional to radius distance r power 3. So they're asking you to take the ratio of r to 4r. So therefore r by 4r power 3, so 3 by 2. Further simplifying it, it results in 1 by 8, because 1 by 4 power 3 is 64. So root over 64 is going to be 1 by 8. And 41, C3 epimer of D-glucose. What is epimer is? Only there must be change in the configuration at only one particular carbon. So that is what we call it as C3 epimer. So here D plus glucose, the C3 is OH is on the left side, H is on the right side, whereas here in this H plus will be change. There will be change in the configuration. Between these two, you can find the changes happening only with respect to the third carbon. So the remaining all stands unaffected. So therefore we may say the C3 epimer of D-glucose is D plus allose. I've also given another key concepts related to it. In case if another way, if it is asked C2 or C4, you should be in a position of answering. So C2 epimer is mannose, and C3 epimer is allose, and C4 epimer is gallose. So you can find there's a change in the fourth carbon and as well as third one. Okay, so here D plus mannose, there is a change in the second carbon, and third carbon here there is a change in the fourth carbon with respect to this one. Okay, So from here to here you can find only changes happening in these carbons, no other carbons. And then 42, there is a graphs given. They're asking you to find out which shows the equilibrium. So we know at equilibrium or at dynamic equilibrium, there will be no change in the product concentration as well as reactant, because it will be equally same. Product converting into reactant, reactant converting into product happens at equal rate. So both appears to be constant. The equilibrium is said to be a dynamic equilibrium, not a static equilibrium. So the graph area which it shows no change in the concentration is the first area. So this is the zone where there is no change in the concentration of the reactant. Okay, so therefore we must say option C is to be the answer. An orthoboric acid, when heated strongly, it forms boric anhydride, which is a very simple question. So B2O3. And I've also given here how the boric acid is releasing water, and when you remove one water molecules from boric acid, it converts into HbO2. So dimer it, or just twice time you write it, H2B2O4, remove one water molecules from it so that it becomes B2O3. So therefore it is what we call it as boric anhydride. Leaching of Ag2S, MacArthur Forest cyanide process, and you need in the presence of sodium cyanide in the presence of oxygen. Okay, then only it forms a complex. So 44, option D, straightforward from NCERT leaching part. And in which of the following the monomers are used or not correctly given? So not incorrect is asked for. So nylon 6,6, yes, it is correct. Phenol bakelite, it is a thermosetting polymer, that is also correct. Buna N is butadiene and then acrylonitrile. So this seems to be wrong. So acrylonitrile, and Buna S is butadiene and then styrene. So here you should have the correct answer as acrylonitrile. So therefore option C seems to be the correct incorrect. Okay, so option C is correct, that is incorrect. Okay, so I wish you all understood all the 45 questions. Go through meticulously again, and let's meet up in the next session. Thank you. Visit again. Get electrified with ChemSteroids team.